All right, so back with part two, finishing up our coverage of Payback. We were talking about the build up to Rhea versus Raquel, and now getting into the actual match. Sir, what'd you think of it?
I think a lot of us wanted to see this at SummerSlam. WWE have really committed to this style of wrestling card where there isn't a lot of matches, and the matches that are on get a lot of time, for better or for worse. See Miz versus LA Knight, but this one got a lot of time. I'm really excited that it wasn't cut short just to be put somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely enjoyed the time they got, especially because I knew, for the most part, if they got more time, it would be to their benefit,
Mm-hmm.
Especially because with the style they were going to work, it was going to allow them to properly stretch it out,
Yeah.
And
Any spots stand out to you?
I do like that at some points, especially like in the beginning, Rhea was kind of underestimating Raquel. And then over the course of the match, that really started to change, as she started realizing more and more that Raquel was going to be a formidable opponent. I'm trying to remember. There was another spot I'm trying to correctly remember, but I don't. There was. I did like a lot of the like classic spots where the two of them just like went back and forth. Especially with their clubs and all that. There was a spot I didn't catch how, but Rhea started like bleeding from her nose at one point.
Yeah, I saw that, and I wondered if she lost a nose ring, maybe.
Potentially, yeah. Because I didn't catch like what occurred, and I don't think I saw any like big enough move that could have done that. But then again, wrestling's crazy, where like even a simple move can cause like blood to.
Hey, did you pick up on what her whole outfit was a reference to?
I did not.
Rhea Ripley tonight is referencing legend China.
I didn't catch
the side by side. It was like a 1-to-1. She might as well have been wearing the exact same outfit.
Interesting. I didn't catch that.
And I think somebody on commentary said it.
Any spots stand out to you, sir?
We got Rodriguez tied up in a tree of woe that looked, really, really painful. Yeah.
There was it was the spot where what's it called? That I really liked the sort of like brutality of the spot where Raquel tossed Ripley both into the barricade and then into the ring post.
Oh yes.
I like that part, and then in the closing minutes of the match, we get Dominic Mysterio once again making his presence.
Once again, hate him.
Yeah, and this one to me, it's even more baffling. Consider what he got put through in when he interfered in the tag match, where it's like you got sent on through a table. This and this happened to you. Why are you out here?
He's selling it too. You know what I mean? He looks worse for wear, and then like a video game, right? Like I love the logic, the canon in my head that Raquel uses up a finisher on Dominic.
Oh yeah.
Which opens her up to Rhea's finisher.
Not only does she use a finisher, she uses enough stamina that she can't counter the finisher that Rhea gives.
Exactly, and that's Dominic's greatest role is just that, to be that level of a foil. He literally doesn't lay a hand on almost anyone. He just takes the senton from Kevin Owens and Judgment Day win.
Oh man, but yeah, Rhea, she uses the distraction. She hits the riptide, gets the win. Real great defense for her.
In comparison to the U.S. title match, right? I also didn't think Rhea was not going to lose this one. Oh, that was a lot of negatives. I knew Rhea was going to win this, like I knew Ray was going to win his match, but this one was more fun.
Yeah.
But this one was more enjoyable.
Yeah. And I hopefully think it should show management backstage that Rhea definitely can work best when she has interesting and dynamic matchups,
Mm-hmm.
obviously she can work real great, matches against smaller opponents, underdogs. She can be a great base for a lot of their moves, but she can also work well with a lot of the bigger people in the division, Sadly, or I don't know if it's like kayfabe, or if, like that they were saying that she wasn't cleared to wrestle, but I'm still holding out hope that one day they let Rhea and Piper Niven go at it for the title.
Oh, Piper Niven? You mean one half of the women's tag team champions?
Well, that's never stopped them from making one of the tag champions.
It certainly hasn't, but yes, Jack. As a matter of fact, she's joined Chelsea Green, and it was really great. It was backstage segment where she was like interviewing prospects to take over Sonya Deville's spot, and Piper Niven just takes the belt and goes, "It's me." That's it.
Yeah, because I just remember her having real great matches with Becky and Liv, especially when Becky had the Raw Women's Championship back last year, I believe, like at the beginning of the year. I know they had a triple threat at day one. I remember being real good.
Oh, wait, no. Yes.
Oh, wait,
yeah, that was last, Jack. Who do you think challenges her next?
Man, it's real tough to think who is going to challenge Rhea next, especially because they don't have as many options on Raw, at least from what I think.
Feels like Becky, because having just beat Trish,
Yeah. Maybe for Survivor Series, since that's a big pay-per-view, And if they don't do the champion versus champion thing.
Don't. I'm down for a Rhea versus Io match, just like an exhibition match.
True, as long as Io wins.
Brand supremacy.
Oh, man. But real great match there, and already, like you mentioned, as WWE has shortened your cards, we're on to our main event. It's the World Heavyweight Championship. Champion Seth Rollins defending against Shinsuke Nakamura.
Ooh. Before we get to the match, Jack, I don't know how you feel about this. I think this happened a couple of times, right? The champion comes out first. Ugh.
Yeah.
Why is the champion first? You get the sense that this one happened because they had such an elaborate entrance for Shinsuke. It was an animated sequence, Jack.
Yeah. Real good stuff. And like I told Mr. Solis, I think last week when we were talking about it,
yeah.
Why did it take them this long to realize they can put this much effort into Shinsuke,
I don't, that's a good question, Jack. But he gets the anime entrance, dramatically describing how he got here and what he's going to do to Seth. And we get Keiji Muto sitting at ringside, recent Hall of Famer. And I'm like, Jack, I think this is going to happen. I think this is going to happen.
Yeah, a lot of people definitely felt that way. You and I have been calling for Rollins to lose the belt. Not because we don't like him, but because with how many long reigns are going on in wrestling, it would be refreshing to see a couple short ones now and then.
And you know what's crazy, Jack? Sense. Oh, you know what? I don't even think that has to happen, Jack. You know how fondly people remember the Attitude Era? You know how fondly people look back on European champions and Intercontinental champions of the turn of the century? Then people held that title for like 3 days, Jack.
Well, I have to mention it because the listeners are going to be like, well, just last week you were complaining about Hikaru Shida having a short reign, and I got to let them know, when it makes sense, I will welcome a short reign.
Yeah. And listen, Rollins has held it since May. I mean, listen, Mick Foley's time with the title, the 3 times he held it, don't add up to more than 3 months.
Yeah. How often did we see reigns last from WrestleMania to SummerSlam?
I'm telling you, I thought, when Judgment Day beat Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, I thought it was like almost the perfect length of time. WrestleMania to now.
Yeah. And not only that, a lot of people were thinking that Nakamura was going to take it. And then a lot of people were like, watch him take it. And then Damian Priest comes out and cashes in and gives him like a 1 minute reign.
Oh my. But what'd you think of the match, sir?
I thought it was pretty good.
I did as well. I want to ask you a question. We can talk about spots, but Jack, I think it's safe to say that the best Shinsuke match any of us can remember is Sami Zayn at TakeOver Texas, wherever it was.
Yeah. Because I was born in the 2000s, that from there till now, that's sort of my range of wrestling that I know. Obviously, I do go back and watch older matches, but I think it's kind of similar to a lot of like certain things in sports where I don't think I can properly give like an opinion on some of the older matches, because like different time, different style of wrestling that I'm used to. That doesn't mean I can't enjoy those matches. But so I mention all this so people know or understand why I'm about to say this. Because that's my span of wrestling, Nakamura versus Zayn at TakeOver Dallas is probably my favorite match of all time and what I view as the best match of all time from what I've seen.
Sami Zayn versus Nakamura at that TakeOver is for you what Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Macho Man at WrestleMania 3 is for a lot of people my age.
Yeah.
So all that to say, Jack, where does this match stack up against that TakeOver?
I think I could see this in terms of, and let me mention this again because I know certain listeners are going to like say things. I think within his WWE reign, you could definitely put it in the top 10.
I agree. I think this is one of the closest he's ever gotten to that lightning in the bottle match with Zayn.
Yeah, definitely. I liked a lot of, especially like, I liked that like story that like, he was like that aggressiveness he was holding towards Rollins and he demonstrated it in the match,
And you know what he did in this match that like I wish he did more often? Like it was after a near fall where he's just getting frustrated with Rollins and like Rollins is like under the ropes and he just starts kicking his head. I distinctly remember him doing that to Sami that night. And like they beat it out of him, they beat it out of his repertoire, but he's bringing it back just like that, like just like really disrespectful, wiping his shoes on your face.
Yeah. A lot of great strikes in this one. He was really targeting both the neck and back of Rollins. I really liked that. And
my one gripe with the match, Jack, you know who else was targeting Seth Rollins' neck and back?
Rollins himself.
Rollins himself with everything he did. His offense is like all neck and back.
Yeah.
And Corey Graves is like trying to do damage control on commentary like, yeah, but when he's in control, he's able to like manage his pain, as opposed to when it's brought upon him.
I will say I was very shocked to see how high Rollins got when he did his frog splash.
It was so like they had even adjusted the camera. He got so high.
Yeah,
you gonna tell me you're not gonna mess your back up upon impact?
Yeah, no lie. But yeah, I loved a lot of the reversals and strikes. I liked the story of Nakamura just blatantly disrespecting him, targeting him, and all that.
Yeah.
But Rollins does get the win here.
He sure does. With a stomp that they tease or that he goes for. And I gotta love a good finisher that's like teased, doesn't quite hit it. And he hits it, we done.
Yeah. And it was funny because I always see like a lot of these memes. So it was like they showed one where it was like Nakamura talking to Keiji Muto, and he was like, "Did I do you proud, boss?" And Keiji Muto was like, "You need to learn to politic better backstage."
Hey, did you hear what happened after the show went off the air?
I didn't.
I saw on Instagram, I think that, because Rollins is celebrating, we're going off, and Shinsuke's outside. They're just hanging out. And I wonder why, and why is he still on camera? Like, just leave, or at least tell. Well, I hear that after the show went off the air, Shinsuke jumps him. Like, they're helping him to the back, and he just goes after him again. I don't know if that plays out on Raw, but
I think it does, but I don't know if they, again, because I didn't watch, so I don't know if they showed it, but Rollins apparently challenged Nakamura to another match, and Nakamura basically told him, like, no, we're going to do it, like, on my time, like, I'll come back for you when I want to, Is basically
Yeah,
sent
I
to
heard that he
me.
rejected like the challenge, which I think was boss.
Yeah. But that is WWE's Payback in the books. What do you think of the show, sir? Overall.
I enjoyed it. I don't think I'd enjoyed it as much as the previous premium live events of the year.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way too.
Like you think like Austin Theory's match and the LA Knight match going as long as it did. And there was one other one that like there were highlights. The tag match definite highlight. The main event definite highlight. It averages out to a meh.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely
It needed a good match.
But yeah, I thought it was a decent pay per view for the most part.
Yeah.
But let's see. About 29 minutes left on the episode. That now opens the door to other discussions that happen in the wrestling world. One that we didn't get the chance to talk to, and I'm glad we didn't get the chance to talk to or talk about. Last week, when we covered All In, we learned that there was a big altercation between CM Punk and Jack Perry backstage, and that was going to be a huge talking point if we had the time to talk about the altercation and all that. Well, hey, glad we didn't get the chance to talk about it, because now waiting a week, we got the news right before, right before Collision on Saturday, or actually it may have happened on Friday, I forget. CM Punk has been fired and let go from AEW.
Correct. Lots of different accounts coming out of All In. Lots of different things surfacing. Right, it's hard to know who to believe, Jack, because people will tell the same story, but just spin it differently. You know what I mean? Yeah, did Miro Chen trying to fight him? Were they joking? Depends on who you ask.
It's like a game of a telephone.
Really?
Where it's like every person gives a different account.
Even wilder, Jack, like there was a point where I thought it had happened after CM Punk's match. Also, it came out that it happened before. And like, how differently can you look at that match thinking that all that transpired right before he hit the wreck, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on his release?
It didn't surprise me. A part of me is surprised that like Jungle Boy or Jack Perry only gets away with a suspension, because like, I would think both sides are at fault. One for instigating, one for acting like immediately instead of like trying to let cooler heads transpire, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was definitely very shocking, but at the same time, like I said, I can't be too surprised. A lot of people have given this take, and a lot of people disagree with it, but ultimately it's the truth. Any other business in the world, like, even if someone's, talking bad about you or saying stuff, any other business in the world, you assault someone for that, you're going to get fired,
Yep.
And the dumb part to me is wrestling fans that try and be like, oh, it's the wrestling business, so it should be allowed. What, like, what world are we living in? Like, what? Like, no, it doesn't matter what business of the world you're operating in. You attack one of your fellow coworkers, you're gonna get fired, even if you're in the right. Even if you believe CM Punk is in the right to, get angry and go off on him because of that, and honestly, I can look at both sides because I don't really have a sort of a side to pick. Do I like some of the wrestlers in the elite, like Hangman Adam Page? Yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna have any bias towards the situation. But like, I do agree that like both sides sort of bring different arguments that make sense and are valid. The people who believe Punk is in the wrong, it's true. This is a guy that we've long seen dishes out, but seemingly can't take it being served to him,
And I tell you what, Jack, one thing that I like grounded myself in trying to make sense of how I feel about all this, right, is that, the alternative, right? Like, how could this have been handled differently? What does the ideal look like when it comes to bringing in a big star who wants things a certain way, who thinks, things should be a certain way, right? I think one can very easily look at Sting. Steve Borden, Jack, the legend, who's out there doing everything that's asked of him. No job too small for that guy. He's jumping off things at the age that he's in, right? And, like, you think if there's anybody in that locker room that deserves any kind of respect, it's him. So you go, what's somebody thinking? What's going through their mind when they, do they think they're bigger than Sting? And I just wonder, like, what kind of examples Sting could give to those guys. Because you're talking about a guy who's been through multiple companies. This guy survived TNA. This guy survived WCW, right?
Yeah.
Smelling like roses. And, like, you be Hulk Hogan, you can be Bret Hart, you can be Goldberg, or you can be Sting. And given the options that you have, given those choices, right, I wish more people were like Sting.
Yeah, definitely, and it's like, I don't know, I feel like too many people don't think both logically and even emotionally, like, in the sense of, like, the situation. Like, I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, well, CM Punk and the Elite should both have come together to work together, but, like, who says they have to, Like, I can tell you from my personal experiences, I've had much more joy keeping people who I wasn't too fond of out of my life, My interactions.
You need that kind of negativity, right?
Yeah,
I think I'm thinking of a school. We have no contact agreement. After like a spat, you're like, listen, we're not trying to tell you to be friends. We're just saying you keep to your side of the yard, and you know what I mean, and everyone will be better for it. I tell you what, Jack, when it comes to like the Young Bucks, right? Like, this is a company they started. This is theirs, and he came in. He wanted to be a part of it. And then he starts doing things and you're like, listen, you ain't moving the needle that much, buddy. Like, they didn't sell 80,000 tickets at Wembley because of him. They sold it. We were sure he was going to be there.
Yeah. And another thing, too, is that Tony Khan really needs to get... There's so much that he needs to get in order. And I think everything that's transpired in the year span from Brawl Out to Brawl In,
woo!
He's sort of... I hope he's come to the realization of how difficult things can be in such a short time with a wrestling company. Like, AEW is only 4 years old, and he's sort of coming hopefully to realize that, like, there's a lot you got to keep in order, and I hope with how much that has happened, he's realizing the usefulness behind a proper staff to help him, because if not, he's stretching himself thin,
Hey, and to that, right, Sting is somebody we can all strive to be like, in the professional world. Another one that maybe is a little closer to our generation is our buddy Bryan Danielson, who, held him, like, God dang, Jack, at that all-out press conference, right? He was saying a thing without saying it. He was like, hey, guys, thanks for being professional. Thanks for asking great questions. And what he was saying, Jack, was, hey, thanks for not bringing up you-know-who,
Yeah.
A lot to talk about. And that guy has never changed his tune about, I'm here to wrestle. I'm here to make this place better. And this place is doing something different. And, like, he never changed his tune. And it's never about him. It's about, we're doing things differently. We're doing things for the fans. And he's doing so much for the other wrestlers.
Yeah. I know Claudio had, like, a similar thing where, like, they asked him about CM Punk, and he basically said something very similar to Danielson. And it's no surprise the four guys in the BCC all kind of have that similar opinion of, like, we're here for the betterment of, like, the wrestling business, the wrestlers themselves, and all that, We're here to focus on that.
That's the Claudio, because Eddie Kingston don't like him, so I don't like him either. Yeah, Don Moxley's another guy who's like, we can do this shouldn't be in this locker room, right? Hey, and also, by the way, Jack, with all that's going on in the AEW locker room, we also just sort of highlight how this ain't happening in WWE. This ain't happening in Connecticut, in New York.
Yeah, or at least, the big thing is it's more tightly sealed,
They keep their dirty business, out of the public eye. And it's funny? If like AEW's locker room is a breath of relief going, we got nothing to do with Punk. The WWE locker room, if there's one person that the WWE locker room want nothing to do with, who is it?
Cody or Roman?
It's Kenneth McMahon. Oh. What's he doing back here? What's he got a headset on for?
Oh man, yeah, but I will say like we were saying, I think WWE probably likely has issues like we've seen with Charlotte and Becky. Like that was one to brew over on screen,
Hey, the last time I heard something, there was a fight between the Judgment Day, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and that was because they said somebody takes their work really seriously. You know who I heard it was? Sami Zayn. He's like super particular, and somebody was out of place. No one noticed, but like there was a big shouting match that resolved itself, but it was all about the work.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll mention is that another issue that AEW has that you kind of mentioned with, more people should be like Sting with. Sadly, a lot of the people in that locker room have super egos. Ooh. So much so that when an incident occurs, they're rushing out there to whatever dirt sheet out there, whatever journalist out there, to try and get their side out first so that people can believe their side first, or take their side anytime an incident happens. Versus, let's look at another incident that happened that, properly resolved itself. Eddie Kingston and Sammy Guevara. Eddie had an issue with him. He ended up solving it the wrong way. But then afterwards, he went out of his way to solve it the right way. He went and talked with Sammy. He went and told people, it was my fault. I shouldn't have let it happen like that. That's a guy who's willing to admit when he's wrong versus all these other people who get into an incident backstage and boom, now you have all these different stories leaking to the journalists because they want to be in the goodwill of the fans,
Mm-hmm. And they got to stay look strong, brother.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue that they need to solve. Where, like you said, a lot more people need to be like the Bryan Danielsons, the Stings in that locker room. Heck, even some of the wrestlers in that locker room that just stick to themselves, and we never hear stories from them about I don't think I've ever heard anything come out about the big two examples I can give, because especially because it pertained to what happened at All Out. Hobbs and Starks have been passed over opportunities time in and time out. We've never heard any complaining from them, especially to the dirt sheets about them being unhappy with their position. It's no, they just patiently wait for opportunities to be given to them again and just do their best to utilize it, and what happened at All Out? Both men went out and showed out, and showed why they need, or basically they once again, like almost every other time they've been given opportunities to showcase, they've let their work talk for them,
Mm-hmm. Hey, this is a nice transition. We won't talk about the entire card for All Out, but can I wait your guess, sir, for what you're ready to call a potential match of the year candidate from All Out?
Sure.
You talking about that strap match between Bryan Danielson and Ricky Starks?
I am wearing the Ricky Starks shirt for a reason. I absolutely love that match. And I will also mention, so I watched it on Sunday, and then I was doing some work on Sunday as well. I forgot what different works I was doing. But after watching that match, I literally opened a new Word document, and started typing out the introduction into my script for a video I want to do talking about that match. And later that night, I was watching some Stardom because I was trying to catch up with the show they had. I went back and rewatched it again just to be like, am I being too recency biased to say this is my match of the year at this current point? I rewatched it again and I was like, no, I absolutely love what they were able to do with this match on such short notice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. Am I gonna put it in my top 10? I have to think about it because, and I'll tell you what, it's the only detriment is the lack of build for Ricky Stark. Like, he had a great showing. I would have been more excited about it if I had more excitement about the guy Ricky Stark leading up to this, right?
Yeah.
But it was, you know what Danielson said about him in the press conference is that he had brought a lot of intensity, and he says some guys, they win, so they don't react the right way to his intensity. Ricky brought it back towards him. That's what he wanted. Like, that guy was hitting him across the face. Yeah. I'm like, bro, not the moneymaker. But, like, Ricky Stark just letting him have it right back with that strap. You and I have talked about whether or not a match stipulation is used to the fullest or if it's wasted. Oh, we got all them strap shots between the two.
You mentioned, how hard they were going. There was one that really caught, like, Ricky, like, across the lip almost. And, like, you see him react, but Danielson doesn't stop. He's like, no, there's no stopping here, And
I bet Danielson in his mind is like going, oh, poop. Like, oh, that was a mistake. But, like, doesn't sell it. He just keeps coming. And Ricky Starks is like, I'll come right back at you.
And, sir, will you allow me to go on a mini rant, if you will say?
Go for it.
All right, and I won't speak too much because if this ends up being at least in that upper top 5 for me, at least match of the year, I want to save it for the end of the year to talk more in detail about it and for the video I'm planning to do on it. But so, on that Saturday, they opened Collision with Tony Khan actually announcing the firing, and they opened with Ricky Starks doing a promo, and it was that what sold me on this match and why I said why I love it so much because of what they were doing a short time where, I wish there was more build up to it. I wish, we could have gotten more between Starks and especially interaction between Starks and Danielson to sort of, give some story and some, like, essentially, like, meat and potatoes to the two of them interacting. But in that promo alone, like, obviously a lot of it was venting the frustration of, Punk getting fired and now potentially costing him one of the biggest matches on one of their biggest cards, And, like, he lets that known. And not only that, something I mentioned about him and Hobbs, he finally lets it know here in a promo where, despite being a heel, he's cutting this passionate promo talking about his contemporaries have been, given more opportunities. I mean, he's constantly passed over at each point, On this card alone, you have guys like Konosuke Takeshita, MJF, Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, guys that are talked about in that same realm as Starks. They're getting their biggest matches, or at least with Konosuke Takeshita and Orange Cassidy in the main event, they're getting their biggest matches of their careers in AEW. And here he is, directionless and all that, and he's frustrated about it. And another thing that he mentioned that I really like. That he addressed as his character is that he's constantly doubted, and people are always, like, giving him the notion that, like, anytime he has a big match on the card, it's time to see if Ricky Starks is going to sink or swim. And he's like, I swim every time, and yet I'm the only one that has to deal with that, essentially, Like, I'm the only one that has to constantly deal with, is he going to sink or swim? So that promo alone really got me invested in it. But what mainly got me invested in, what I really enjoyed, was the match itself. How, like, there was just all these little things, where, like, he gets the advantage early on, and, once he gets him bleeding, it's like Jon Moxley, and, like, you just unlock Bryan Danielson's true form where he starts going at him. And my favorite spot was that spot where he's, like, wailing on Danielson with the strap. And after like 2 or 3 times, he sees Danielson kind of just sitting there unaffected, telling him, come on, bring it, show me your intensity. And you see a short moment where he gets, like, frustrated and he's, like, slows down. And it's almost like he's giving up, like almost like believing the doubts that people have himself, going like, if what I'm doing isn't enough to freaking hurt this guy, why am I even trying? And then that's when Danielson looks at him and says, are you giving up, basically? Like, he's basically telling him, are you going to give up? Is that all you got? And then he snaps back into it and starts going at him, and matching that energy and intensity. And the part I love the most is in that promo, Ricky said, the only way you beat me in this strap match is if you kill me. And what happens in the finish? He literally chokes the life out of him, and he sells it with his facial expression.
Yeah, he does. Looking into the camera, but like you can forgive it because like his preoccupation is not breaking a fourth wall; it's just living.
Yeah, and like the visual, just like it truly sells that line of "you're gonna have to kill me," because like the way he looked, I was like, my goodness, it looks like an eyeball's about to pop out of this man.
It did.
Yeah, and I just love the way he perfectly sold it, where like you truly believe that like he got choked out, you know, like he did everything so perfectly to sell that like the moment his head drops, you fully believe like, yeah, no, I would fully believe he actually got choked out in that moment, you know?
Yeah, and golly, do I sympathize with Ricky Stark, right? Who like you think was getting what he wanted in this program with Punk. Right?
Yeah.
I saw him fighting him on Collision in the beginning of August. So, like, to course correct so well with Danielson, I'm really excited for the showing that he had.
Yeah, you know, and going forward, what I want, especially because I don't know if you've seen, like, the same reports, but the reports are Danielson has a lot more, I guess you could say power, but, like, he's going to have a lot more focus. He's going to be the main sort of focus of Collision. And so what I've been saying is I want more from Danielson now going forward on Collision to be like this match. And I'm going to reference Stardom here. I want him to be more like the story Stardom did with one of their wrestlers named Kagetsu, where their whole story arc was they were this real brutal wrestler. You know, they were very tough and stiff. They were the leader of what is Stardom's basically heel faction and all that. They were very stiff and rough and all that with the up and coming talents, but behind the scenes, they were one of Stardom's main trainers, like training the different wrestlers. And so the story that was told throughout her and when she had the main world title, her story was basically she's doing all this to elevate and truly bring out the best in the next generation who has to take over for when they are gone, you know? So they are watching, or they're doing all this for the sole purpose of the betterment of the future and to truly test who has it and who doesn't. So I want something similar with Danielson. And in this match with Ricky, a lot of people be like, oh, well, he lost, so he must not have it. Well, no, because what did Danielson say in the press conference, you know? Ricky matched his intensity. He proved he can be at that level, you know? So even people who lose and you know, take this loss, even in defeat, they can add to this story and prove that they can be one of the top guys in AEW.
And he wasn't pinned and he didn't tap. His body gave up on him before he gave up on that match.
Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed that match, and yeah, like that's what I want to see with Danielson going forward. And I have no doubt he will likely do something similar after having this match with Ricky Starks, you know, where he's gonna want to feud with different guys and really probably take a lot of different guys under his wing, like he's done with like the BCC as a whole did with Wheeler Yuta, how he was trying to do with basically how he was doing with Daniel Garcia last year and all that.
Oh yeah. So, here's hoping and for a brighter tomorrow. Jack, how many minutes we got?
Looks like 6 minutes.
Oh, can I rapid fire a couple of standout moments for me?
Yeah.
I think my match of the night for me was Orange Cassidy's International Championship defense against Jon Moxley. Did you notice, sir? Jon Moxley did not bleed that entire match.
That shocked me the most.
I heard people wanted their refund. They were so upset by the fact that Jon Moxley did not bleed, which is shocking because he was certainly covered in blood. It was Orange's blood.
Yeah.
It was a brutal affair. And, you know, there was a great spot where Orange Cassidy, covered in blood at the end of the match, does his, like, Orange Cassidy kicks, but doesn't do more than one or two before he starts just actually kicking, you know. It was good.
Yeah, and I don't know if you caught, like, the different postings people were doing, sir, but I love the visual that they did with the camera work where at the start of the match, they, like, were focusing on his like wrapped up, taped up hand, and by the end of it, that wrapping was all red, and you know he was broken and defeated by the end of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was real great story work too.
You didn't see the first match, the Ring of Honor Tag Team title defense, right?
No, I did catch what happened afterwards though.
Oh my! You mean MJF walking up the ramp, Samoa Joe not waiting for anybody, coming out first as a champion. We're okay because he's gonna punk out MJF like he did at NXT in that hallway.
Yeah. And then a big pull apart brawl.
Yeah. Another, we talked about the guys that like really come out of the last week looking good, right? And professional. Samoa Joe is another guy that you heard like broke up something, is a consummate professional. And here's hoping this is him getting his flowers. Let's go. Put him up against MJF.
Yeah. Should be real fun. And I mentioned it to you, sir, that I like the whole time, or I always like when wrestling promotions will do this thing where there's one main guy and they have so many people vying for them, especially if they're the world champion. You got so many people vying for MJF at this point. You got Roddy, you got Samoa Joe now. You still got Adam Cole.
You do, huh?
Yeah. So.
This is a tiny rant. Dark Order, I'm glad they got a shot. I hate that. They got beat by the stupid double clothesline. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. Sir, I'll have to highlight it here because at this point, everyone knows it's my... it's what I love the most. I thoroughly enjoyed Chris Statlander versus Ruby Soho. I did think the ending was a bit awkward, but I did like a majority of the match.
Yeah, I did too. Toni Storm is, I think like the impression is that she was crazy to begin with, having lost her title. Now she's just off the deep end.
Yeah, I saw so many people saying that they want her to be the first lady of Bullet Club Gold, just solely for the fact that
join Juice.
Yeah, solely because they want to see the crazy interactions between her character and Juice Robinson.
I don't. I really don't.
Speaking of Bullet Club Gold, sir, another thing that I can go on a rant on for days, the importance of presentation in wrestling, how you present yourself, really goes into making a superstar. That Bullet Club Gold entrance was amazing with all four guys.
It really was. It really makes them, stand out and look as formidable as they're supposed to look. Hey, and we're not going to talk a lot about it, but you got to love the initial don't want to work with you between FTR and Young Bucks, right? We're not going to tag, the other guys. We're going to force tag ourselves in. And then at the end, they're helping each other with their, moves, their tag team moves. Seeing Matt Jackson on the other half of the Shatter Machine. Like, that was good storytelling. I was impressed. I don't usually, enjoy the two teams, but I really liked that match.
Yeah, and then another thing I liked that a lot of people noticed was, the feel around All Out was a locker room uniting to prove that, they're trying to move past it all. They're just trying to put on the best show they can. They're trying to move forward, go out there and ignore the drama and all that. And I thought that was real well until, again, a lot of different wrestlers started letting it get to their ego, talking about, oh, look, we can throw on a show with little to no build. And it's like, no, that's not the example you're supposed to take, or that's not the lesson you're supposed to take from this.
Right. I also got the sense that the city of Chicago really was willing and wanting to move past it and enjoy themselves,
Yeah.
They were chanting meat. I had to, really listen going, are they chanting meat forever? They were ready to have a good time and, really enjoy and celebrate the wrestlers who were there.
Yeah. Overall, real fun weekend of wrestling, real good stuff coming out of it. What would you say was your match of the weekend, sir? And keep in mind, we have 45 seconds.
Orange versus Moxley.
All right, and everyone knows what mine was. It was Bryan Danielson versus Ricky Starks in that strap match. Real good stuff. Thank you all for joining for these 2 episodes. I don't know when the next show is. I think it's Fastlane from what I've heard people say. I don't know for sure. Whenever the next
Super show in India.
Oh, all right. Well, whenever the next time we see you, I've been Jack, joined by my guest,
Mr. Solis.
Thank you all for joining for another 2 episodes of the season, and we'll catch y'all next time.